Have you ever wondered why you can't stop scrolling? Why, no matter how hard you try, your attention keeps drifting to things that give you pleasure with no effort? What if I told you that every time you seek out those small dopamine hits, you're unknowingly sabotaging your ability to do meaningful work? And what if I told you this isn't just a personal flaw, it's a fundamental part of how your brain is wired? Welcome to Quiet Discipline Method. Today, we are going to uncover the hidden mechanism that is controlling your actions and ruining your productivity: dopamine. Imagine your brain as a complex decision making machine, constantly asking, what's the quickest way to get rewarded? Every time you face a task, whether it's reading a book or starting a project, your brain evaluates the cost and benefit. It asks, will this be hard? Will the reward be uncertain? If the answer is yes, your brain hits the brakes. But if the task is easy and the reward is certain, it gives you a green light. This isn't a flaw in your character. It's survival programming that helped your ancestors stay alive. In the modern world, this same programming is working against you, leading you to crave instant gratification at the cost of long-term achievement. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Dopamine is not the pleasure chemical as most people think. It's the chemical that makes you want something. It's the anticipation of a reward, not the satisfaction of actually getting it. Think about it. When you scroll through social media, each swipe could lead to something interesting, something rewarding, so your brain floods you with dopamine to keep you hooked. Every like, every comment, every notification, it's all part of a system designed to keep you coming back for more. But here's the dark truth. When your brain gets too many of these easy dopamine hits, it begins to downregulate. It reduces the number of dopamine receptors in your brain, meaning that the things that once excited you, reading a book, working out, even having a meaningful conversation, start to feel boring, less engaging. It's not that you've lost your willpower. You're experiencing a tolerance effect, much like a drug addict needing more and more of a substance to feel the same high. Social media addicts, for example, often find themselves unmotivated to do anything productive because their brains have been trained to crave constant, effortless rewards. So, what does this mean for you? It means that the more time you spend consuming content that gives you quick dopamine hits, the more difficult it will be for you to focus on tasks that require sustained effort and attention. And here's the catch: the cycle feeds itself. The less you engage in meaningful work, the more you'll crave those easy rewards. The more you crave them, the harder it will be to break free. But don't worry, there is hope. The key to breaking this cycle lies in dopamine detox. This isn't about eliminating dopamine entirely. It's about removing the sources of easy dopamine that hijack your brain. By doing so, you can retrain your brain to find pleasure in harder, more rewarding activities that require effort and focus. This is how you can start building real discipline, not by relying on willpower, but by rewiring your brain to enjoy the process of doing hard work. If this idea intrigues you and you want to learn more about how to break free from the dopamine trap, subscribe to our channel for more in-depth content on building discipline and creating a meaningful life. Your brain is ready for change. The question is, are you ready to make it happen? Thought-provoking question. A, do you believe that constant easy rewards, like social media, have a negative impact on your ability to focus and be productive? B, do you think these dopamine hits have little to no effect on your long-term focus and motivation? Comment your answer below with A or B. We'd love to hear your thoughts. Imagine waking up every day, ready to dive into your work, but instead of feeling energized, you feel an overwhelming sense of resistance. The more you try to push yourself, the more you feel pulled in the opposite direction, toward the easy and the immediate. You tell yourself you should focus on important tasks, but your brain keeps begging you to scroll through social media, check your messages, or watch just one more video. Why does this happen? Why does the act of getting started feel so difficult, even though you know what needs to be done? The answer lies in how dopamine, the brain's reward chemical, shapes your motivation. Dopamine, as we've seen, is the chemical that drives your desire for rewards. It doesn't just make you feel good when you get something. It compels you to pursue the reward in the first place. In a world flooded with instant gratification, your brain is constantly being bombarded with easy rewards. Whether it's a like on your latest post, the thrill of a new notification, or the anticipation of a funny meme, these quick hits of dopamine create a cycle of desire. Every time you experience that dopamine rush, your brain reinforces the behavior, convincing you that this is what you should be doing more of. It's like a feedback loop of pleasure and craving that's incredibly hard to break. Here's the problem. When you feed your brain these small, easy rewards, you're essentially training it to avoid anything that requires effort. The tasks that require sustained attention, like working on a long-term project or exercising, feel far less appealing because they offer no instant payoff. This is where procrastination sets in. Your brain constantly weighs the effort required against the potential reward, and if the effort feels too high and the reward feels too distant, it triggers avoidance. You might think, I'll start working in 10 minutes, but those 10 minutes stretch into hours. The result is that you end up feeling unmotivated, unable to start what you need to do, even though you know it's important. The reason for this lies in the way dopamine functions in your brain. When you're constantly exposed to easy dopamine hits, like from social media or mindless entertainment, your brain adapts. It becomes desensitized, requiring more intense stimulation to experience the same level of pleasure. That book you once loved now feels tedious, and the gym workout that once left you feeling exhilarated now feels like a monumental task. Your brain has effectively rewired itself to crave quick, shallow rewards, and anything requiring deep work or long-term focus now feels unpleasant in comparison. But this doesn't mean that motivation is something you're lacking or that you're lazy. This is a biological response. Your brain is simply following the rules of reward. It's not that you've lost your willpower, it's that your brain is stuck in a loop that's designed to keep you looking for the easiest possible reward, even if that means procrastinating on the things that truly matter. The good news is that this is not permanent. Just like any other habit, procrastination driven by dopamine dependence can be broken. By gradually removing these instant gratification sources and retraining your brain to find pleasure in harder tasks, you can reshape your motivation. It won't happen overnight, but the first step is understanding the mechanism at play and recognizing that your inability to focus is not a personal failure. It's simply a result of the brain's natural wiring that you can reprogram. Ultimately, the more you start to push through the discomfort of tasks that don't provide instant gratification, the more your brain will begin to adapt. Slowly but surely, you'll shift from seeking dopamine hits to finding deeper, more fulfilling rewards in your work, your goals, and your achievements. In a world where instant gratification is just a click away, it's easy to forget that our brains are not designed for constant stimulation. The way we live today, constantly surrounded by notifications, likes, and quick entertainment, has created a dangerous cycle. We have become so accustomed to quick rewards that the effort required for deeper, more meaningful tasks feels almost unbearable. But what if there was a way to break this cycle? What if you could reset your brain to find joy in hard work and focus once again? This is where dopamine detox comes in. Dopamine detox, despite its misleading name, doesn't mean you're eliminating dopamine from your life entirely. That would be impossible and unhealthy. Instead, a dopamine detox involves removing the sources of excessive artificial stimulation that flood your brain with dopamine at the push of a button. These sources are usually things like social media, binge-watching TV shows, video games, junk food, and other instant gratification activities. These are the things that your brain craves continuously, but the more you give in to them, the less pleasure and satisfaction you actually get in return. Think of dopamine as a dimmer switch in your brain. When you engage in quick, easy pleasures, this dimmer switch is cranked all the way to the highest setting. This constant overstimulation makes the simpler, slower rewards of life, like reading a book, exercising, or completing a project, feel dull and unappealing. Your brain has been trained to expect a high level of stimulation at all times, and anything that doesn't meet that expectation feels like a waste of time. The purpose of a dopamine detox is to turn down that dimmer switch, allowing your brain to recalibrate to more natural levels of stimulation. By cutting off the constant flow of easy dopamine hits, your brain begins to upregulate its dopamine receptors, making them more sensitive once again. This means that after a few days of detox, you'll start to notice that activities that once seemed boring or tiresome, like going for a walk or doing deep work, actually become enjoyable again. This process isn't just about eliminating distractions, it's about retraining your brain to appreciate the long term rewards that require effort. When you're no longer relying on the instant pleasures that have become so addictive, your brain starts to find joy in things that are slow and steady. You begin to realize that real satisfaction doesn't come from scrolling through endless posts or finishing a bag of chips. It comes from the quiet triumph of completing a task, from the sense of accomplishment after a workout, or from the deep fulfillment of focusing on something meaningful for an extended period. But why does this detox work so effectively? The answer lies in neuroplasticity, the brain's ability to change and reorganize itself. When you intentionally remove the distractions and artificial pleasures, you give your brain the space it needs to rewire itself. It's not a quick fix, but over time, this process strengthens the neural pathways that promote focus, discipline, and long-term satisfaction. As these pathways become stronger, the pull of instant gratification weakens and the ability to stay focused on long-term goals improves. By resetting your brain's dopamine system, you begin to build a new relationship with pleasure and satisfaction. The key here is understanding that dopamine detox is not about punishing yourself or depriving yourself of enjoyment. It's about regaining control over your brain and realigning it with activities that provide lasting rewards. The result is a mind that finds joy not in fleeting pleasures, but in the satisfaction of hard work, discipline, and achievement. In the next step, we'll explore the practical ways to implement a dopamine detox and how to create new habits that will sustain the benefits of this reset. But for now, understand that a dopamine detox isn't just about removing distractions. It's about teaching your brain to savor what truly matters. When you decide to embark on a dopamine detox, you might think that the hardest part will be simply removing the distractions. But in reality, the most challenging phase is the transition period. The first few days when your brain starts to react to the loss of its usual stimulation. This phase is critical because it's when the discomfort and withdrawal symptoms begin to surface. It's easy to think that you're failing or that the detox isn't working, but in fact, this discomfort is a sign that the process is doing its job. For the first few days of your detox, expect to feel restless, irritated, and even anxious. Your brain, which has been conditioned for so long to seek constant rewards, is suddenly deprived of its usual sources of pleasure. This is the withdrawal phase, much like what someone experiences when they're trying to quit an addiction. It can feel like your brain is screaming for stimulation. You might experience the urge to pick up your phone, to open up social media, or to search for another quick entertainment fix. You might even start doubting whether you can truly give up these habits and questioning whether this detox is worth it. This restlessness is where many people give up, thinking that the discomfort means they're doing something wrong. But it's the exact opposite. This is the moment when your brain is undergoing a transformation. When you feel the discomfort, it's your brain reorganizing itself, adjusting to a new way of functioning. The dopamine pathways that once craved immediate gratification are starting to shift, and your brain is learning to find pleasure in more meaningful, sustained activities. But to get through this phase, you have to trust the process and push through the discomfort. It's important to remember that the discomfort doesn't last forever. This transition period is temporary, and as you continue to stick with the detox, you will notice a gradual shift. The first few days may be tough, but as your brain's sensitivity to dopamine begins to reset, the desire for instant gratification will start to fade. You'll find that the activities that once felt boring or tedious, like reading, exercising, or doing focused work, become more rewarding. It's like reprogramming your brain to enjoy the things that actually matter, the things that bring long-term fulfillment rather than short-term pleasure. However, there's a catch. Just removing distractions isn't enough. You have to replace them with activities that provide slow, sustained rewards. Simply cutting out social media, junk food, or video games won't be effective if you don't substitute them with activities that require effort but give you a deeper sense of satisfaction. This is where discipline becomes your ally. You need to create a routine that supports your dopamine detox by engaging in activities like reading a book, exercising, cooking a healthy meal, or practicing mindfulness. These activities may seem boring or uncomfortable at first, but as you continue to practice them, your brain will begin to associate them with reward. One key to getting through the detox phase is patience. Your brain will gradually begin to rewire itself, and what once felt like a chore will begin to feel more satisfying. The critical part of this process is understanding that this is a long-term transformation, not a quick fix. It's about building new neural pathways, ones that support focus, discipline, and fulfillment over the instant pleasures that have been hijacking your time and attention. Remember, the discomfort you feel during the detox is not a sign of failure. It's a sign of growth. As your brain gets used to the absence of constant stimulation, it will begin to seek out activities that promote deeper satisfaction. Over time, the cravings for instant gratification will diminish, and you'll find it easier to focus on the things that truly matter. The key to success in this detox isn't just about removing distractions. It's about retraining your brain to appreciate the reward that comes from sustained effort and discipline. The process of a dopamine detox can feel uncomfortable, even grueling, but the rewards on the other side are far greater than the initial discomfort. As your brain recalibrates, something remarkable happens. The things that once felt like burdens, reading a book, going for a run, sitting down to focus on a challenging task, start to feel more natural. More than that, they start to feel rewarding in a way that doesn't depend on external validation or immediate gratification. You begin to realize that true satisfaction comes from deep work, from the kind of discipline that builds lasting success. The beauty of a dopamine detox is that it gives you the space to reconnect with intrinsic motivation. This is a form of motivation that comes not from external rewards, but from the internal satisfaction of achieving something meaningful. Instead of relying on fleeting bursts of pleasure from notifications, likes, or candy bars, you begin to find joy in the process of doing the work itself. This shift in mindset is critical because intrinsic motivation is far more powerful and sustainable than the shallow rewards that dopamine-driven behaviors can offer. As your brain's sensitivity to dopamine increases through the detox, you'll find that the things that once seemed dull or impossible, like sitting down to work for an hour or reading a book for pleasure, become increasingly enjoyable. This is because your brain has learned to associate effort with reward again. Activities that once felt like chores or responsibilities now feel like opportunities for growth because your brain is releasing dopamine in response to the accomplishment of completing something meaningful. But the real transformation goes beyond just the immediate sense of satisfaction. This shift in how your brain responds to effort also creates lasting changes in your life. By breaking free from the cycle of constant distraction and instant gratification, you begin to build stronger, more consistent habits. These habits will not only help you be more productive, but will also deepen your sense of fulfillment. Whether you're working toward personal goals, professional milestones, or even building better relationships, the ability to focus and stay disciplined becomes the foundation of your success. Over time, your attention span will lengthen. Tasks that once felt overwhelming will become more manageable because you'll be able to focus for longer periods of time without the constant need to switch tasks or seek new stimulation. Your decision-making will improve because your brain will no longer be hijacked by dopamine cravings every time you face a difficult choice. Instead of choosing the easiest route, you'll be able to make decisions that align with your long-term goals. This shift in how you make decisions, how you engage with your work, and how you pursue your dreams will have a profound impact on every area of your life. The long-term benefits of a dopamine detox are not just about being more productive or focused. They are about reclaiming control over your brain, over your habits, and over your life. You stop living in response to every external stimulus and start living in alignment with your true goals and desires. You become someone who takes pride in the process of achieving something, rather than just in the outcome. This kind of transformation, the kind that stems from deep, meaningful work, is what gives you the true sense of satisfaction that lasts. In the end, the detox is not about depriving yourself. It's about creating a life where real satisfaction is the reward. It's about creating a life where discipline is not a struggle, but a natural part of who you are. The longer you practice this, the more it becomes your default state of being. And over time, discipline becomes not just a choice, but your way of life. The path to real freedom, fulfillment, and success is paved with the small, daily acts of discipline that result from a brain that has been rewired to crave long-term satisfaction. This is the true power of a dopamine detox. One of the most powerful tools you can use to maintain the benefits of a dopamine detox and create lasting discipline in your life is environment design. The reality is that no matter how strong your willpower is, if your environment is constantly tempting you with easy distractions, it will be much harder to stay focused on long-term goals. Our environment shapes our behavior more than we often realize. In fact, it's often the environment, not our willpower, that determines whether we succeed or fail in creating lasting habits. Think about it. When your phone is within arm's reach, how many times do you find yourself checking it? Or when your favorite snacks are on the kitchen counter, how likely are you to grab one when you feel bored or stressed? The more easily accessible these distractions are, the harder it will be to avoid them. This is why environment design is so crucial to your success in a dopamine detox and beyond. You need to make it easier to engage in the behaviors you want to cultivate and harder to fall back into the old, distracting patterns. The first step in designing your environment for discipline is to remove or limit easy access to distractions. If social media is one of your biggest time sinks, delete the apps from your phone or use website blockers during times when you need to focus. If junk food is a temptation, don't keep it in the house. If you want to exercise more, lay out your workout clothes the night before so they're the first thing you see in the morning. The goal is to create physical barriers between you and the distractions, making them less convenient and, therefore, less tempting. However, removing distractions is only part of the equation. You also need to set up your environment to make the desired behaviors easy and automatic. This means creating physical cues and reminders that prompt you to engage in productive behaviors. For example, if you want to read more, place a book on your bedside table or in a place where you'll see it regularly. If you're trying to exercise, make sure your workout space is ready and inviting, with everything you need in place. The more you can make these productive behaviors effortless, the more likely you are to follow through. Another key element of environment design is the people you surround yourself with. We are social creatures, and the habits and behaviors of those around us have a profound impact on our own habits. If your friends or family members are constantly engaging in distracting behaviors, like binge watching TV or scrolling through social media for hours, it becomes harder for you to break free from those same patterns. That's why it's so important to seek out communities or groups that align with your goals and values. Surrounding yourself with people who prioritize discipline, focus, and long-term achievement will make it easier for you to stay on track and maintain the changes you've made. Creating an environment that supports discipline also means aligning your space with your core values and long-term goals. If you're working on a project or building a business, dedicate a specific space for that work, a place where you can focus without distraction. If your goal is to be healthier, fill your kitchen with whole foods and make it easy for yourself to prepare nourishing meals. The more you design your space with your goals in mind, the more seamlessly these behaviors will become part of your daily routine. In the end, environment design is about making discipline the path of least resistance. By carefully curating your physical and social environment, you remove the friction between you and the behaviors you want to cultivate. You create a space where discipline becomes natural, where distractions are out of sight, and where every action you take aligns with your long-term goals. The true power of environment design lies in its ability to make discipline not just a choice, but a natural way of life. With the right environment in place, you no longer have to rely on sheer willpower to stay disciplined. Your surroundings will do the hard work for you, nudging you toward the right behaviors and making it easier to stay focused, engaged, and on track. This is the foundation for lasting change, and it's one of the most effective ways to make sure your dopamine detox doesn't just work temporarily, but leads to a lifetime of growth and achievement. A dopamine detox is not just about removing distractions, it's about reclaiming control over your life. By resetting your brain's craving for instant gratification, you open the door to deeper, more fulfilling rewards. It's through discipline, patience, and the conscious design of your environment that you can transform your habits and achieve long-term success. The process may feel uncomfortable at first, but it's through this discomfort that lasting change happens. Remember, the journey to true satisfaction doesn't lie in short-term pleasures, but in the satisfaction that comes from sustained effort and meaningful accomplishments. Lesson and application. The lesson here is that true growth requires intentional effort and a shift in mindset. Apply this by recognizing where instant gratification is robbing you of your potential and start slowly removing those distractions. Create an environment that supports your goals and aligns with your values. Whether it's through a dopamine detox or simply prioritizing more meaningful activities, remember that every small choice you make shapes your future. In your daily life, try setting up your surroundings to make positive habits easier and distractions harder to reach. Question for reflection. What's one area in your life where you feel constant distractions are holding you back, and how do you plan to reduce them? Feel free to share your thoughts in the comments below. I'd love to hear your insights. And don't forget to subscribe to the Quiet Discipline Method channel for more valuable content to help you grow and achieve your goals. Your support helps us create more helpful videos.